Then at that point, then things can start to change. But if we focus on the energy of what we don't want, we tend to
question. What if I'm just not happy with my life? I'm 35 years old. I'm making barely $3,000 monthly, and I can't even afford one-bedroom apartment on myself. I'm still having a roommate, and I can't afford anything. And people around my age just having a better life. They just more successful. Oh, they are more like a real adult or adult. I'm just not happy with my life.
and the beauty of it is we just want to start from that place of just being present with it and how difficult, how painful that reality feels. But of course, just because what we see now, right now I'm in this room, but is this, what I see around me, is that my ever present, is that my eternal reality? No. It's where I am right now, but of course, if I want to change my life, then I have to be willing to have a vision. If I just focus on what I have, I get more of it, right? That tends to be one of the challenges of life. As it's been said, where attention goes, energy flows. And so instead, what are we redirecting our attention to? Instead of our attention on what we don't want, we've got to be able to gradually move our attention towards a vision of hope, of possibility. Then at that point, then things can start to change. But if we focus on the energy of what we don't want, we tend to stay in it more. That's just a cold reality of this life. And I've lived it more times than I can count. I've been there and done that. I've got the license plate, the t-shirt, you know. And so, as many of you have as well, we know what it's like. It's an important experience. I think it's an experience that we should all know, that when we focus on what we don't want, we tend to get more of it. But this is also an element of maturity. We want to move into adulthood, into a greater insight and perspective for creating our lives. But we've got to be able to do something different, be willing to do something different, to shift our attention to what we do want. And so it may turn out that there may be a crisis of the work that I do right now isn't what I want to do. I worked for 4 years after my bachelor's doing work that I didn't want to do, ideally. And eventually, after 4 years of doing work I hated, I decided it's time for a change. I was desperate. I wasn't a fan of academia and studying, but I was desperate. So I went back to graduate school. I'd wanted to sooner, but just with my mom sick and finally passing away, it wasn't in the cards at the time. So I worked for 4 years, and during that 4 years, I struggled a bit with my vision to get back on track after losing my mom. So we all have something that can shift our attention, that gets us almost obsessed, fixated on what we don't want. And that's okay, because that pain, that agony becomes the springboard to say, hell no, I'm not willing to live another moment in the current state. And of course, then that pain becomes a blessing. We look back and go, I'm so glad that that pain pushed me to make a change that I wasn't willing to make. So I'm going to share a brief story of a guy that was going to visit a friend that he hadn't seen in a while. And when he arrives at his friend's house, an older gentleman, he's on his front porch, sitting in his rocking chair. He's rocking back in his chair as the friend approaches. And so he notices that every time he rocks back in his chair, he hears a whimpering sound, and it's his dog whimpering every time the back of the chair goes back. Every time the rocking chair moves. And so the friend approaching sees this and says, hey, I notice your dog is whimpering. I notice his tail is under the back of the rocking chair. Why doesn't he move? I see it hurts him. And what does the old man in the rocking chair say about why the dog doesn't move? The old man simply says, well, apparently it doesn't hurt enough. And even though the dog is whimpering, he doesn't move because it doesn't hurt enough. And sometimes we need that. The pain in life is sometimes a gift. And I have countless stories that I may get to share over time about how that pain was a gift. Of course, when we're in it, it's not fun. Hindsight's always 20/20. But when you're in it, if you can realize that it's giving you an opportunity, as it's been said, that it's not happening to you, the difficulty is happening for you. And of course, this lens, this perspective is part of the spiritual perspective, that we're able to look beyond our current circumstances. We're able to see more objectively from a larger vantage point as to what is perhaps the wisdom, the gift in this difficult time. And so only then, with that perspective, can we appreciate the journey we're on and begin to make more of a shift and not fixate so much on what we don't want and how miserable our lives might currently be. Because that misery lets you know it's a road sign. It lets you know this isn't where you... It's good you feel bad because it lets you know this isn't where you want to stay your whole life. So make a change.
Thank you. That is amazing.
For more insights to empower your life with joy, purpose, and lasting success, please like and subscribe here to EQ Wise, where we dive deep into wisdom that is both ancient and state-of-the-art. EQ Wise stands for emotional intelligence, balanced with wisdom, integrity, spirituality, and empathy. Thanks for watching.